Welcome to Film Addict. I am your host, the Film Doctor. Yeah.
And the Film Surgeon. And we are back in the attic with another hot film to dissect. We got a juicy one today. Oh, we got American Skin by director-actor Nate Parker. You can get this on Vudu, Amazon Prime, YouTube, and Google Play and Movies. It is $6.99 to rent, $10 to buy. And if you don't want to do it on video on demand, you can go to your local theaters if they're open or drive-ins. We got this off of Vudu, and Vudu, you know what to do.
Go ahead and hit us with that sponsorship. But anyways, let's jump right into our movie review. So, I have so much to say. Manny, go ahead and take it away. You tell me your thoughts on American Skin. Okay,
so originally we weren't gonna review this film, but me being me, I reached out and I said, we need to review this film, American Skin. We came up with some movie we'll review later on the back burner that isn't as important.
It's good. Go ahead.
So American Skin, starring Nate Parker. We got some other names in here. If you've seen Luke Cage, a TV show, then you know Theo Rossi as Shades. And that Bo Knapp has actually played the guy who plays Officer Randall. He's actually played a cop in another movie as a crooked cop, Black and Blue, with Tyrese and I can't remember her name. But if you've seen Black and Blue, he was in that one as well.
I don't know if anyone's seen any movie with Tyrese except for Fast and
You have. You've seen Black and Blue. I know it because it's on your video.
I might own it. I probably own it, actually. I'm positive I own it. But go ahead.
The acting in here I thought was really good. I thought that some of the dialogue could have been better, but for what they had, the actors in this did a phenomenal job of being believable in their roles. I did not believe anybody in this, and I know some people said they had a problem with Theo Rossi, they didn't believe him or whatever, but I thought he was believable. I thought especially Bo Knapp as Officer Randall, I definitely thought he did a phenomenal job to me in his believability factor and really getting into that role. So I thought we had some good acting here. As far as set design, it's not really anything that's special. They had maybe 2 or 3 sets at most. So that's not what really makes this movie special. It's just okay. As far as like cinematography and camera work, I'm not a fan of the way they chose to shoot this film from that documentary style angle. It helps with the story, and I understand it, right? Like, it doesn't take away from the film. It was purposeful because it actually tied into the story. So like, they had no choice but to shoot it from that angle. Like you have to work with what you have. So I understand the choice. I understand the style. I don't know that I loved it.
I have to know why you didn't like that documentary point of view.
I would have preferred to see like a regular kind of zoomed out style. And they kind of did that some in the movie. They definitely did that some, which I enjoyed. That kind of regular zoomed out style as opposed to that up close, one-on-one feel with the camera, kind of documentary feel. It was just a preference at some points. It's not like, I'm not gonna dock this film for that. I'm just saying, like, I completely understand the logic. I completely understand why it ties into the story, it ties into what's going on. And so you have to shoot it that way. Like, there's no other way. They even shot the body cam. They kind of mixed the shooting the way they did it. They took the body cam footage and kind of shot from that and like the regular camera. So, they did some creative things with the filming here. I think that I'll give them credit for. It's just like a personal preference, and it was kind of like, I don't know about that. As far as the story, which is the bigger part of all of this, which is the reason that we're reviewing this movie, because the story is phenomenal. The only problem that I have is with the ending. I hated the ending.
You hated everything that I enjoy. I can't wait to get to. Go ahead.
I hated the end of this movie so much. It's such a cliche ending, and like I don't want to spoil this movie, but somebody was talking all big and bad, and when it was time to do the deed, they didn't handle their business, and that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. You can't be in the window, and this is a huge Easter egg in the window like Malcolm, but then you in the movie like Martin, and that's all I'm gonna say.
What are you giving it as a rating?
For my grade, I'm gonna give this movie an A. The message, the story carries this movie. Out of all those little things that I said, they didn't detract. Those are things that I feel like people would say, I don't really like that, or their personal preferences, but it doesn't detract from the movie. Everybody should still see this film. It's a great film. It's not that long as far as runtime, I don't believe. And it's poignant. It's to a point. It has a great story. And it flows very well. And I think one of the things, other than like how the movie ended at the end, that was very poignant and it was very done well, was the newscasting. So there's a lot here, and a lot to take away. And this movie will leave you thinking and being able. This is the type of film where you can sit down and if your family, you can have conversations with your family, friends, anyone. I highly recommend everybody check American Skin out. My grade for it is definitely an A. I know you're bubbling up over there and you want to go, so go ahead and go. Go ahead, get it out. What did you think about it?
I had to review the tape just to pick out all the shit you said so I can comment on it. There is a lot to take away from this movie. It runs at 89 minutes. I wish it would have been longer, because the thing about it is that people need, you can watch some really good movie, cop movie or whatever, but those movies that are unique are those ones that are real, the ones that can resonate with you personally, or the things that you and normal people deal with on a regular basis.
And not to interrupt, fun fact, this movie was actually shot as a short film originally, and they actually enhanced it and made it longer. So this was originally supposed to be a short film.
Well, to comment on one thing that you had said was about the film style with the film crew that's filming and they're filming them. That is such, first of all, you can't watch every single movie that's just filmed exactly the same. You never would have got movies like Blair Witch Project or what was the one movie that we reviewed where they're like fighting upstairs, but the camera's downstairs and moving through the house.
What Keeps You Alive?
What Keeps You Alive. So there's so many different ways to make things unique. And I think that this style was unique. I've seen movies where you have an actor playing an actor in a movie. This is the case where you have a movie company filming another company, independent company, that's filming for a documentary. And that was just unique to see it from different POVs. You never would have got great movies like Vantage Point, which we still have not reviewed and we need to review eventually because it's such a good movie. But it's just a different filming style. And I really loved it because it was telling a different story. It allowed you to almost be in the shoes of so many different characters. So from a filming perspective, I really liked it because it was unique. It was different than what the norm was.
I mean, I'm not saying that it detracted from the film in any way. I completely understand the decision and the creativity. I don't think it takes away from the film like other people are saying. I have a preference and that's it. But I don't think it.
I'm just saying that for me, that's one thing that I enjoy about any film, when they're able to do something different, to show it from a different perspective, to show it differently than how you would see it in theaters, a different style is always good. I mean, it's like if you have, in terms of music, I know this is film, but when you look at music, how music changed, and then all of a sudden you got introduced to something called dubstep. I mean, it was just something different than what we were used to. And then that opened up doors. I don't know if it was before or after, but you had auto-tune. It's just the reinvention of a product. And I think that that's what they did within this filming style. It was different than how you would see a normal movie. And a lot of those great films like that I have named have been some where they branched away from the stereotypical or typical kind of filming style, and those movies were successes or really good films.
Right.
So judging from the acting, I mean, at some point I just felt I was in the room watching real shit. Like like the acting was so good. It was just so good. It was so believable. The emotion was, you know, a lot of times you can tell somebody's trying, like, oh, let me just seem like I'm sad. Like, no, you were really sad. Or, let me tell them like, I'm real angry. I'm like, no, this motherfucker is pissed. Like, in watching this movie, it was real. It was the interaction between each character and the reaction of the things that were going on was real. Now, it wasn't like that all the time. Sometimes it was just like, okay, this is pretty, you know, forced or whatever. But for the most part, especially their trial scene, should I say, that was one of the biggest things that I wanted to talk about, because when I look at certain things that make for a good movie and those certain components, music always jumps in there as being a big thing, because music can make or break certain scenes or certain films. If the music's super great, it can make that film super great. And the thing is that I don't want to talk about the music. Yeah, there was music in this film, but I don't want to talk about how that impacted the film, because when I look at like the trial session, there's about 20 minutes of this trial where you don't hear not one instrument, not one sound. It was really based on the actors and their acting. And that was probably, in my opinion, the most powerful and impactful scene of the entire thing. And they didn't use any music. I just really appreciate stuff like that, when you don't have to rely on some of those normal components to make or break that film, that you really rely on the actors and their performance, because that's foretelling on how good they do. And considering that they didn't use your Denzel Washingtons, you know, they used some new guy, Nate Parker, and they used some regular guy.
He's not new. I
mean, he's new to me. He's not an A-list, B-list, C-list.
Birth of a Nation. Well, since we brought him up real quick, because I want to ask you, because there's actually a lot behind Nate Parker. So Nate Parker did Birth of a Nation, the Birth of a Nation, not the KKK movie.
So,
the Birth of a Nation.
So was he the director of it?
He was director. He was the director and actor, and he played Nat Turner.
Was he main character inside of Birth of the Nation?
Yes, he was Nat Turner in The Birth of a Nation. It's The Birth of a Nation, not Birth of a Nation, because then you're talking about a different movie.
Okay.
But and so that movie didn't do as well. And there's a lot of controversy around Nate Parker, because he was brought up on charges for sexual assault. He was acquitted.
In real life, you're saying?
Yes, no, in real life. This is what happened around the Birth of a Nation film. He was, when it came out, and this is why it didn't do as well as people thought it was. And he was kind of like a rising star. And then news came out that he had a previous sexual assault case that he was acquitted on. But it mired him in controversy. And so now people kind of refuse to touch him in a little bit. And so now him working with Spike Lee is very interesting. And it's an aspect of this, of why I've had some people tell me they're not going to watch the film. So what do you think about that crossover of someone's personal life into a film like this, where you say this is a really good film, but people aren't going to watch it because Nate Parker made it?
Well, I'm a stand-up comic, and from a stand-up comedian perspective, we tell our story on stage through our own pain. And I think that when he goes through the stuff he goes through, or anybody goes through the kinds of trials and tribulations that they go through, that enables them to be able to tell a stronger story. Now, Birth of a Nation, The Birth of the Nation, whichever one he did.
The Birth of a Nation.
All right, those are the Nation. Whatever. Looking at this film, American Skin, yeah, there's no like sexual abuse kind of thing that's going on inside of it, to where it's like he told his pain. But pain can be delivered in any kind of aspect. If someone in their life has not gone through pain, then they can't really tell a story of pain in general. It doesn't matter what that's about. And that's no different from talking about this story. You know, you have this story that kind of talks about police brutality and racism. And you have a lot of people, whether they're white or black, that are out there, maybe they haven't experienced that kind of pain. So if they were doing this movie, American Skin, they never experienced that kind of pain or trials and tribulations to tell a good story like this. And I think that the stuff that he was doing or going through with inside of a more personal life, I think it added to him being able to talk about trials and tribulations that Black people in general kind of deal with, and that was through the eye of police brutality. Does that semi answer the question that you were?
Kind of, because here's the thing, like, you know, and I would hate for people to kind of get off on the wrong foot on this review, because it is already a controversial movie, and he is a very controversial figure. You know, for instance, I'll just give you an example of when I said, hey guys, you should check this out to one of my friend groups in the Twitter DM. They said, nah, I'm not going to watch trauma porn by a rapist. Like, that's the mindset, like, that is attached to him, you know, regardless of whether he was acquitted, you know, and the circumstances around that are, you know, is why people call him a rapist, but he was acquitted nonetheless. But it's that aspect of him as a person.
Not to cut you off, but yeah. That's something that bothers me, and you can connect it to this film, is that a lot of people try and stay blind to reality. I'm not gonna watch that. It's about human trafficking. Well, that's the real thing that fucking goes on. I don't watch the news because it's too real. Well, you don't deal with it, but other people, and you might one day, see, people don't want to talk about shit until it happens. They don't want to be sympathetic to shit until it happens to them. And I think that when someone's able to tell their story, it's so powerful because it becomes something that you can learn from. You can learn somebody else's story. Your story is important, but other people's stories are just as important. And I don't want to get into like religious things, but I feel like people are put in your path, in your story of your life to impact you. And if you don't branch out to learn about different cultures and different ethnicities and backgrounds and what other people are experienced to, and you stay blind to just your community and what you went through, then it makes it very difficult. You might miss out on making new friends of people. Just because maybe you grew up in an all-white neighborhood, you never will be able to experience a really good friend, your best friend, who grew up in an all-Black neighborhood, because you never branched out to that kind of cultural difference. And I just feel like all people of all races need to see this movie because it's so impactful towards the feelings and ideas of white people and the feelings and ideas of Black people, but also the feelings and ideas of police. You know, there's been this realistic divide of Blue Lives Matters and Black Lives Matters and All Lives Matters and everything else. And I thought about this the other day. It's just like, I'm not a police officer, but if I was a police officer, I can sympathize with saying, you know what, you need this job is difficult. You need to respect it. But also, if some of these police officers were being hassled by police, then they would understand Black Lives Matters. But it's both sides have to understand both sides. It's what equivalates to All Lives Matters. We get that, but each movement is different because each person's life experiences are different. And this just tells it from his point of view.
I guess, you know, and I don't know that what Nate Parker's been through personally as far as police brutality goes. I guess more so what I'm trying to get at is, you know, for people that are not gonna watch this because it's Nate Parker and they think he's a rapist, you know.
But look at it from this perspective. You have Michael Jackson, who they want to accuse of child molestation, but I'm not gonna stop listening to Thriller. I know that much. We ain't gonna stop listening to Pretty Young Thing.
I want to bring that up because it's an interesting conversation. There are a lot of people that won't watch this just because it's him and he's mired by that controversy he has going on. And so it's kind of hard when you have a film like this that's good, but then his name is on it. You know?
But that's the thing of what I'm talking about, about how people stay blind. And that's the comparison I use where I'm not going to stop listening to Michael Jackson music. I'm not going to stop listening to R. Kelly music. Shouts out to R. Kelly. He produced 2 songs while in prison or whatever. One of them called Shooter. Check it out. It's really good. But I'm not going to stop listening to that artist's work. It's those trials and tribulations that they tell through their pain. You know, him going through pain, or Tekashi 6ix9ine, who was in prison, gets out and then tells his story, or Akon and everything else. They all go through those trials. They're normal. They're people like us. people can't act like they're so perfect. I'm not gonna watch it because someone else. You have skeletons in your closet. You've been through shit too, and if not, and you've lived this perfect little life, that's what makes you so imperfect. Because you're not experienced to the world that's around you. You're living inside of your bubble when your bubble is a lot bigger than what it needs to be. But to backtrack, just to kind of evaluate my review of the film, like I said, the music is not something that I think catapults this to the A+ rating that I give it. It's really the acting and the message inside of this story that makes a huge difference with inside of this film. It doesn't matter who directs it. I think that you should stay blind to who directs it, because you're not looking at movies based on directors. You're looking at movies based on the movies. A lot of people, the thing is, and to kind of segue into what you're talking about, is many people, if you're not somebody that's really deep into film, like you're not the film doctor or the film surgeon, then most movies, you can say the name of the director, that don't mean anything to you. If it's not a Steven Spielberg or a Martin Scorsese, it doesn't really matter. And not many people, if you stay in tune with the news, then you stay in tune with what's going on and police brutality and all this other stuff, then that's the same kind of thing that you would stay in tune with to keep up about Nate Parker. But for me, before you even said it, I don't know who the hell Nate Parker is, and you could put Birth of the Nation and throw the word "the" in front of it. It wouldn't change it to me. I still don't know who Nate Parker is.
I need to understand. Birth of a Nation is a Ku Klux Klan. The Birth of a Nation is a Nat Turner.
I own The Birth of a Nation, and I only say that because I don't own shit with the Ku Klux Klan that I can think of that they've done. But the fact of the matter that I'm saying is that if somebody was like, hey, check out American Skin, Nate Parker did it, I'm like, I don't give a fuck because I don't know who Nate Parker is, but I'll check it out. Right. And I check it out and it's good. But for those, what I'm saying, that may know his history, that should not be forthtelling towards his vision and his work.
Yeah. You've answered my question though.
so that concludes just my thoughts. Like I said, I give it an A+. Anything that you want to add on top before we close out?
Yeah, guys, please hop in the comment section. If you watch American Skin, let us know your thoughts. I know this may kind of be a controversial review for some people because it's a controversial movie with a controversial director, but go into the film and watch it and come out with your own thoughts. I mean, the whole point of watching film is to have conversations, and especially a film like this is supposed to make you think and have those conversations. So if you watch American Skin, or you watch this review and then you watch American Skin, get down in the comment section and let us know what you guys think.
And I'm just going to add on before I close out here with it, is that looking at like Kevin Spacey, who he was he convicted? Was it finalized? Pretty sure.
I don't know.
It was proved, or a lot of people had said, or whatever the case may be, that he had done whatever he had done, or your Harvey Weinsteins or whatever. That's a lot different than having those convictions and then getting off and being acquitted. No different than Michael Jackson. And so, I'm just going to your point, like if Kevin Spacey was to do a movie, it's the reason why Billionaire Boys Club, I think is the name of the movie, which was like one of his last things that he was in. A lot of people didn't go see that. I mean, that movie made less than $100 in theaters because of the boycott behind the personal decisions that he made. But like I said, I mean, to me, that doesn't deal with my review of the film. I enjoyed the film. I think it's amazing. I think people of all colors, of all kinds, of all ages, I don't even care if it's really, I say that this movie is meant for the audiences of 17 and older because it's rated R and the content in it. But in all honesty, I think younger kids need to see it. I think that a lot of parents blind their kids to having their own personal opinions because they push and force their own political, religious, and points of views through their eyes, through their kids' eyes, their own negative and hateful tongue through their kids' hateful tongue. And that then they grow up and they are secluded inside the bubble that their parents gave them, instead of being exposed to stuff like this to see the realism of the things that goes on, so that they can have a more ideal appreciation for other people of other kinds, of other colors, of other backgrounds, of other cultures and ethnicities. So that's where the huge appreciation for this movie comes from. So that's all that I have today.
Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Film Addict. Please
don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
I don't like the way you say that. You telling them like they got to do something. I'm asking nicely.
Don't forget I'm telling you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because it helps for us. So if you want to continue to see really good content from us, those kinds of things do help significantly. And as always, this has been another exciting episode of
Film Man.